every single one of our major customers and minor customers all shut their doors overnight.
You need the right people in the right place at the right time. And sometimes you have the right people in the right place, but at the wrong time.
I've got to keep going forward. I've got to keep looking for revenue streams. I've got to keep looking for growth, keep looking at new ways of doing things.
But, you know, what's the culture like at the business? What do we stand for, the values?
I've got to tick that box on my personal development program I don't really want to be here.
Scaling up a business isn't easy. If it were, we wouldn't have less than 4% of businesses scaling beyond 10 employees or around £1 million turnover level, and less than 1% beyond 50 employees. But the contribution that we make as owner-managers to our economies is immense and should never be underestimated, yet it can be a tough gig for all of us at times. And only other business owners truly understand the challenges that we face. And through ScaleUp Radio, we aim to help make things a little easier. We interview guests who have been where you are now and may have faced some of the challenges that you are facing. And they offer their thoughts and advice on what has worked for them, as well as what didn't. And we've also combined many of the lessons from these interviews and also through working with hundreds of owner managers over the last 10 years or so into a practical scale-up handbook that we've called the Entrepreneurial Scale-Up System, or ESUS. And it's for owner managers like you and me as we navigate our own scale-up journey. And you can order a copy through your favourite online book retailer or by going to all the W's, esusgroup.co.uk, www.esusgroup.co.uk.
Hello! On this week's episode, we have a brand new presentation centered around being smart. SMART, S-M-A-R-T, is an acronym that we use within BizSmart, which stands for specific, measurable, accountable, realistic, time-bound, and is a process by which you set your goals and objectives for you and your team and your business. In this presentation, we explain just what each of the letters stand for, and we also look at the benefits of implementing a smart system in your business, as well as we look at the best ways of creating a smart system as part of your scale-up journey. As always, you'll hear me refer to the tools that can help you with your smart system, and you can get copies of these tools by clicking in the links in the show notes. As well as the presentation, there is also a panel discussion with a range of business owners discussing the place that smart systems have within their companies and the challenges they've found in implementing it. This is an incredible practical presentation with plenty that you can put into action straight away. Enjoy it. So this time we are looking at how to be smart. So again, looking at the in-flight checks, the standard set of questions. So your leadership team, do you meet quarterly and identify a structured set of priorities? Are those do you identify those in terms of critical numbers, and are they smart? Have you got those rolled out, and are you tracking those? And all your staff have identified their own supporting critical actions and numbers, or which we call our ROCs, to develop themselves as well as the business. So before we get into the concept of SMART, we just want to talk about the science of achievement and the surprising reasons why some people achieve their goals and some people don't. So rather than just jumping straight in to the business thing, I want to talk about some studies that have taken place. And we're going to look at this first study, which was looking about how to maintain a regular exercise to maintain good health. And in this study, there were three groups of people. They're all given the same objective in terms of setting up a regular habit of exercise. The first one was just a control group, and they were given a page or two from a book to read. The second group was the motivational group, and not only were they given the book to read, but they were also just given a pamphlet that really defined the good benefits of regular exercise. And the third group were given the book and everything else and the pamphlet and the same motivation. But this time they were actually asked to write down how they were going to achieve it in terms of their actions. And the surprising results showed that the control group, 38%, hit the goal of regular exercise, where only 35% of the motivated group. But the really key one was by writing down your actions, by creating an action plan, 91% of the people from group 3 actually took about and did that regular exercise. So it's not just about being motivated. It's not just motivation that drives you forwards. There is a science behind achieving specific goals and objectives, and that's to write it down. And then some further studies have looked at this, and what they found through these ones is, yes, it's great to write goals down, but now if you commit it to another person, you increase the likelihood of achieving those goals. And then if you have regular progress, again, you get even more delivery in terms of the objectives. So it's not just enough to write them down, it's to make the commitment to them, and it's to have regular reviews of them. And these are the studies that have shown how you can achieve your goals more successfully. And when we look at business owners that are more successful in terms of delivery than other business owners, you can see these patterns taking place. So that's the science behind it. What we use is we use this Rudyard Kipling phrase to actually help us really think about it. And that is, I keep 6 honest serving men. They taught me all I knew. Their names are what, why, when, and how, and where, and who. So what does that mean? Well, what that means within your SMART 90 process, okay, to be smart within the whole process, you first of all need to determine your key priorities for the next 90 days and define, what does good look like? What do we want to look like at the end of that period in terms of doing it? Then we make those priorities, we break them down into SMART objectives. Then we need to review them to ensure they're a good fit and make sure they have the right owner. And then we need to gain commitment. We need to have a process of gaining commitment. And then we also need to have a developed set of action plans built into your business rhythm that allows you to review and ensure that these are taking place. So SMART. Now we get down to the detail. So we use these acronyms, and for SMART, we use specific, measurable, accountable, realistic and relevant, and time-bound. So when you're defining your ROCs or your objectives for the next 90 days, you need to make sure that they are specific. So what is the objective? Make it clear, make it easily to understand. It needs to be measurable. Okay, what's the outcome need to be? What do we want to achieve? Okay. Accountable. Who's going to do it? Okay. Realistic and relevant. Okay. Linking to your why, linking to your core values, linking to the plan for this year in terms of what you want to try and achieve, and time bound, clearly defining when we need to achieve this by. So within our 90-day planning process, what we would look in terms of SMART is something like this. What does good look like? What are the handful of key priorities for the next quarter? What's the business needs to achieve X as measured by Y in terms of doing things? Who's going to do it? And what are the critical numbers, the top 1 or 2 numbers only that will define the best 90 days? Now, for me, this is the key learning for SMART. So if you remember anything from this session, it's this. And this was something that was an aha moment for me, because often when we see the acronym SMART, off we go and we build spreadsheets with columns in, or we build Word documents with forms that define what the different SMARTs are, etc. Actually, it's really simple and it's really focused if you just generate a nice, simple sentence. Okay, so what is not SMART here on the left is setting a goal for marketing. What is SMART is something like generate 3 leads from online marketing by December, sorry, that's Kevin. Recruitment, okay, recruit a marketing executive and a graphic designer by January 23. Granger. Team engagement, that's not really smart. What does that mean? Okay, develop and implement a plan to increase our net promoter score by 10 for the next quarter survey, Louise. So the key thing about defining SMART and the best way of doing it is just to create that simple sentence that meets the requirements of SMART, and therefore your teams and your people can understand what needs to be achieved, who needs to do it, and when they need to achieve it by. But we talked about within SMART making it relevant. So in terms of relevance, we use a smart web approach to define your goals over the next 3 years. So you need to go back to your business plan with your objectives and review them against the critical paths and what you want to achieve over the next year and also over the next 2 to 3 years to make sure that you're keeping an eye on the distance on the horizon while you've got your head down thinking about the next 90 days. So SMART is also making them relevant. And as we said, the science of achievement is about writing them down and tracking them. And the way that we do that within BizSmart, we have the Smart 90 software. And here we put down the goals and objectives, and then we allocate them to individuals, and those individuals can define their actions, their SMART actions that they need to take in order to deliver that goal. And also they have a tracking mechanism where they can update the status of it throughout the business rhythm section that takes place over the next 90 days. So as we said, the science of achievement is about writing it down. It's about getting that commitment, and then it's about tracking and reporting the status of them. So to review, to be smart, the key within the business rhythm is to determine your priorities. Okay, what does good look like over the next day, next 90 days? You need to make them smart, okay, using that an acronym. These are specific, measurable, accountable, relevant, and time-bound, and keep those objectives or those rocks written in a nice little simple sentence. Then review them to ensure they're good fit in terms of they have the right owner. Gain commitment by everybody that's created those, and then develop your action plans and build that into the rhythm of the business to ensure that those objectives are being delivered and what we need to do. Otherwise, we'll get lost in the noise of today. So that's the science of achievement. That's how key business owners are really successful in terms of moving their business forward, and they are good at strategy, they are good at execution, but what they're good at is bridging that gap and understanding the science of achievement in terms of what you need to do to achieve. And to finish, what we always talk about again is this Rudyard Kipling phrase, and it's really important to really think about this because it is very powerful. I keep 6 honest serving men. They taught me all I knew. Their names are what, why, when, and how, and where, and who. So the challenge we like to do each month, this is what we'd like you to go away and think about, okay, is to identify and capture 5 to 7 key SMART priorities for the next 90 days. If you've not done your 90-day planning, we did it as a business with all our clients last Friday. And within that process, we asked them all to define their 90-day goals and what they need to achieve. And we built it into the SMART structure to make sure it's specific, measurable, accountable, relevant, and time-bound. And then once you've got those, it's then determine a few key SMART actions. What is it you're going to do and the people that work for you in terms of need to do in order to deliver those key SMART priorities for the next 90 days. And going back to the in-flight checks, which are throughout Kevin's book in the Entrepreneur ScaleUp system, we're looking here at the key questions around the in-flight checks and how you can use those to drive the business forwards. So that's SMART. That's the activity of SMART. And that key thing of trying to, from my experience in the corporate world, we always build big things and put lots of documents around everything. But the key thing here is to keep it really small, keep it focused, and keep it specific, keep it measurable, keep it accountable, relevant, and time-bound. So I'll open it up for discussion. Has anybody got any thoughts, experience they would like to share around the thinking of SMART?
How do you manage it when, so, you know, obviously at the highest level, you'll come up with your SMART objectives for the business. And then obviously the idea is, I guess, they cascade down into the teams. How do you kind of keep an eye on that? Because I guess that's a lot of objectives trying to be achieved across the business. And we're not a very big business, so I imagine that obviously multiplies as you get bigger.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about the ones that I've set. There's, you know, I tried to make it so that each team has something to focus on in the next 90 days. But I guess I've got to try and make sure that they're keeping an eye on those, but I'm also making sure that I'm keeping an eye on our ones. And I just, how it all ties in and trying to keep all the momentum going. And then also 90 days just flies by, doesn't it? So it's kind of also feels like it goes too fast.
It does indeed. Yes, very much so. So one of the elements that we encourage our clients to pick up and do is a thing called the business rhythm. And we're not here specifically talking about that, but it's the rhythm that you put in place within your business are the key things to help you deliver on your 90 days planning in terms of doing that. And that's the execution type thing. So yes, we're often good at the strategy stuff. What do we need to achieve in the next 90 days? But it's the business rhythm and how you link it together in terms of doing that. And part of the Smart 90 software that BizSmart helps to cascade that out to your teams, and they each have their own individual Smart 90 objective planning sheet where they can track their progress against their actions. And as a business leader team, you can see the overall activity that's taking place. Okay. But it's not just about the software; it's the structure that you put in place called the business rhythm.
Yeah. Okay.
Louise, you want to add? Because your favourite topic.
How did I know Granger was going to come back to me? Because this business rhythm thing is a thing for me. And it is sounds really simple. It's just simply getting the right people together at the right time on the right intervals to make sure that you keep the whole thing going. So it's about finding the right rhythm for you. I mean, one of the key ways of being able to keep this moving, and we obviously do it. We do it on a Monday morning. We have a team meeting for half an hour, and that's all it is. Yeah. And we look at what went well, what didn't go so well, what have we learned, what are our, where are we against our rocks? Do we need help? And we just literally go through that. So we're keeping each other moving and accountable, but also making sure that, because they are your individual rocks, of course they are, but actually if the individual fails, the business fails. Yeah. So part of developing that rhythm is making sure that nobody falls between the cracks. And as a team, you're just keeping it moving. And if somebody is struggling, well, then we look for a way to make sure that we can pick that up. Yeah, and that's what keeping that rhythm going is all about, that accountability. And that just checking in on a regular basis. And we do it, say, for half an hour on a Monday.
Yeah, it's a good point. I think we're a little bit behind with our rhythm at the moment. We're sort of trying to always a little bit behind where we need to be. Need to try and start to get a bit ahead of it. So yeah, I'll definitely have a look into that.
Beth, you've put your hand up.
Yeah, I was just going to say at the Development Manager TDM, we also have a Monday morning meeting. So everybody knows what the rocks are, what their accountabilities are, and we create a to-do list and then we review that every Monday. And we just find that it works and it keeps people on track. And if you've got a to-do and you're accountable for it for the following week, then people generally do it. So it's a good strategy.
Brilliant. Thank you, Beth. Miguel?
Yeah, I use the SMART and I love it, and I've been using it for a while. I put another two actions into SMART. I call it Smarty, and it ends with an I and an E, and I'm sure some of you would know this, which is inspiration and emotion. So all you include what inspires you about that goal and the emotion that it brings up, so that it gives you extra fire in your belly.
Brilliant. Nice. Smarties. So we've got Smarties now in terms of doing things. I saw someone else had their hand up. Neil.
Just when we're talking about objectives there, if you're setting them for a team member or whatever, there could be quite a lot of objectives. Shouldn't they go away with one or two that they're going to focus on rather than a whole load of them? I might have missed that at the beginning.
We're not talking specifically about Smart 90 type approach in terms of doing that. Within it, talking about the action within it, which is defining actions that are smart. But it's very important not to overload your people and overload your business. Okay, so we always talk a maximum of 5 to 7 objectives for the next 90 days. Okay, a maximum 7. I would even say 5 is maximum, and then those may be cascaded out to individual owners. Okay, so now they've got 1 smart or 2 smart objectives, and they now create their rocks, the key 5 things that they need to do. One of them may be the smart objective that you've done, the other elements within their aspect of their role. And then inside each one of those, you then define the smart actions that you need to take in order to deliver those. Might cascade to another team depending on the size of your business in terms of doing things. Okay, so it's a cascade, but never overload people. Never go beyond a maximum sort of 5 to 7 objectives and actions.
Okay, thank you.
So one final thing, Stuart.
Yeah, just really quickly. Actually, I'm a one-man band, but actually I still have my catch-up with myself at the start and end of each week, because that's my time to reflect on kind of what went well last week, celebrate that, but also look forward as well. And that's kind of, so you don't necessarily have to just be in a team to set those objectives. It works really well. As long as you're disciplined about diarising that time, which I do, then actually it can work for kind of like, sort of the one-person businesses too.
Brilliant. Thanks, Stu. And we'll just finish with Matt.
Yeah, thanks, Granger. Just sharing my experience with Smart 90, it's been fantastic and it really has got us that focus. But what used to happen, it was myself and Alan that used to do it. It was sort of part of the leadership team. And then we sort of like cascaded out to everyone else. And this time we changed it around where we brought Toby and Emma in as well and had more of the team involved. And that was such a positive step to take because, we get greater discussion. We picked up a lot more things that we'd like to do, but, had greater buy-in from everybody else, and setting those smart rocks was really good. And you could see the guys are absolutely bought into what they're doing going forward. So, we got so much more out of it by doing it as a wider team rather than just the 2 of us.
Brilliant. Thank you, Matt. So just to summarize in terms of that, don't get lost in the thinking of Smart 90 and Business Rhythm. Yeah, it is a simple approach in terms of doing stuff, but the key thing within that process is when you're defining your objectives and when you're defining the actions that need to take place to take the business forwards and achieve what needs to be done, define those in a smart way. Okay, so specific, measurable, actionable, relevant and time-bound, and maybe smarty way in terms of inspirational and emotional. Okay. But that real learning, that aha moment, is put that in a little sentence. Don't create a whole new process or a whole new smart sheet, etc. Keep it focused and keep it simple.
Don't forget to take a look at www.bizsmart.co.uk to access a great range of resources to help you in your scale-up journey. So that's bizsmart.co.uk, which is bizsmarts.co.uk.
This has been a Monkey Pants Productions podcast.